Hey everyone, welcome back to Men's Couch. Your host Micah Blackwell, and today I'm here with
Lucas.
and
And Ben?
and Ben. Yep. And today we're going to dive into to leadership and what leadership can mean as men, but how we can also redefine leadership from the traditional way of leadership, and how we can kind of reimagine what leadership can be. I think a common, I think a misconception about leadership is that you need these certain qualities, but I feel like sometimes that can put you in a box. Whereas if you don't have those qualities, then you feel like you're not a leader. But leadership is, I think, more expansive than what we think it is.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a good topic because leadership. Maybe I'm just confused, but leadership has always kind of an odd term to me that doesn't seem to have one singular definition.
Mm-hmm.
Like leadership, oh, you lead others, but what does that really mean? Because there's lots of difference.
What does that actually mean? What does being a leader mean, actually? That's a good question.
Yeah, that I don't know. Like, I don't think I could really define the term leadership in more than just you direct others. But I mean, I'm trying to think how leadership applies, because recently in the fraternity that I'm in, I'm the vice president, and so I've had to do a lot of work with the president because the president, he's a good guy, but sometimes he can be a little rash, and so I kind of have to be there to help moderate him and make sure he's not doing anything too crazy or not laying on super unreasonable punishments because some guy missed a meeting or something. And so I think leadership, it's a difficult thing when there's one guy in charge, because I feel like to actually have good leadership, you need to have multiple perspectives sort of working on it. There needs to be some sort of moderation in place, because if one person's ideas are just left unchained, then I feel like there always needs to be some kind of check to it, or at least the person in charge needs to understand and be open-minded.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense. I guess one of the ways that I see you as a leader is the things so I'm not on social media, but people tell me about the daily quotes that you post.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that can be seen as leadership right there. You're sharing your ideas, or you're sharing something with the world, but it's true to who you are. But we don't see that as leadership. We just see it as something else. But that can be leadership right there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that leadership comes from
Sorry, get a good closer.
I think that leadership comes from, I think first and foremost, a place of self-trust.
Yeah.
I think that's where it starts. Because if you can trust yourself, in your own life and
be confident,
kind of lead your own life, then you can take on the task of maybe bringing others along with you. But I also think exactly what you said, that a leader needs to be able to, maybe they have this self-trust, but it needs to be able to be humbled at times, because otherwise, you can lose yourself in that leadership and, lead people in the wrong direction. So it's very dynamic. I don't think it's it's a definable term or anything like that.
So what I'm hearing is that a leadership shouldn't just be geared towards one person, but as a leader, you're influenced and sharpened by other people, around you. You are accountable, and other people can balance your skills out. So that's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
and you have to be able to recognize that as a leader, I think.
Yeah. I guess it starts there.
Yeah. Something I think we should discuss a little bit more is being able to lead yourself and trust yourself. I thought that idea is interesting to me, because Because like leading yourself is kind of like, I don't, my quote today was something along the lines of learning to trust yourself and be at peace with yourself, and how that is oftentimes much harder than being at peace with other people. And that's good.
Oh yeah.
I was talking out where my mind was at is that, you know, that to truly like be like, it kind of goes back to a couple weeks ago we talked about or on Valentine's Day we talked about relationships, and someone was thinking that if you're not happy alone, then you're not going to be happy with someone else. It's kind of like if you're not in tune with yourself, you can't really be in tune with other people and lead them that way.
I agree. Yeah, I think
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
I think it's like to be an effective leader, you know, you have to kind of be at that level where you trust yourself, and you can do that, but you can't bring anyone with you. You can't lead anyone else unless you can lead yourself perfectly. And that's, you know, navigating the ups and downs of life.
So what happens when we're not in tune with ourselves? What do you think? Like, I just want your opinion. Like, or do you like experience that, or what happens when you're not in tune with yourself?
Well, what I was thinking about in that regard is that I've always had trouble with trusting myself and trusting my gut, because
your intuition.
Because a lot of times, you know, you'll do something and you'll trust yourself and it won't end up the way you planned. Like you'll say, hey, this is the best way to go, and it actually was not the best way to go. And I think personal failures sort of skew our own views of ourselves, and whenever we lead ourselves down the wrong path, it's hard to trust ourselves again after that. But you know, it's still something you need to do if you want to be a leader in the external world as well as the internal one. But it's just it's really difficult, I think, to really get that trust in yourself, because everyone makes mistakes, and you have to learn that, you know, even though you're gonna make mistakes, you're the only person, or you're the person that you can trust best, because you are the only person who knows yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else ever will, and so you need to understand that you are the one person who's the most qualified to lead yourself. No one else knows as much about you. No one else understands you as much as you do. I think that's the difficult thing to realize.
So do you think that we define ourselves by failure, and that leads us to not trusting ourselves?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And I think when you get to that place where, like you said, Micah, that we don't have that strong self-trust, that instead of focusing on ourselves, being the leader of ourselves, we seek it externally.
We seek like.
Do
you mean like the external validation? That's what I say.
And that's the problem, is because we're the only ones that can lead ourselves. Truly.
So, and then we go and we start taking other people's advice too seriously.
Perhaps.
And
and we don't have we lose our internal voice.
Yeah, we trust we trust the people who are telling us what we should be, instead of knowing what we need to be.
Yeah, and you'll never know for sure unless you believe it yourself.
Yeah. So leadership begins with trusting yourself. So imagine for me, I'm a person that I feel like I need to seek that external validation or external approval. So would you say that I don't have, I guess my internal voice has been kind of influenced by other people so much that I'm taking in everything that I can't, I'm not filtering it, and someone else's voice becomes I think it's my voice, and I think that can happen. I think that happens. I feel like that happens a lot with men, but we don't talk about it necessarily.
Oh yeah.
Maybe because it's so normalized, or people just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah, I think that happens when we're seeking something outside of ourselves to validate our internal sense of value or worth, but we lose our sense of, like you said, self-trust and our own leadership. So and so I think it comes to a point where if we have like these like authentic ideas, or if we want to post daily quotes, we might hesitate to take that step because we're afraid of what someone else would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a matter of understanding how things aren't black and white and they're more nuanced, because at least for me, it took a lot for me to actually validate putting those things out there for people to see, because it's like not everyone's going to agree with it, not everyone's going to like it, and it's just understanding that everyone thinks differently, and some people are going to like you as a person, what you say, and then there's always going to be people who don't, because every single person is different. They just need to understand that. Understand that I wanted to understand that the advice that I put out there isn't for everyone. It's just the advice that resonates with me, and so it can resonate with other people. But I said this as a quote before because my entire brain is out there. But I think I said, don't take other people's advice too seriously, because the best way to understand yourself from others is to take little bits and pieces that you think resonate with you, and and sort of craft your own way of living around not like exactly what people say, but learning from what people say to understand yourself.
Let's just like stop right there, because I have that problem where someone will like say, "Oh, can I give you some advice?" And then I'll internalize it so heavily that I think I just need to please that person next time. Mm-hmm. It's like you kind of run into pleasing others by internalizing their advice so heavily, where they didn't want you to take it so heavily. They just wanted to share a piece of information, but sometimes it's just a grain of truth to it. But I think we take it as like all truth, that I need to take all of this in. But
you try advice. I mean, you take people's advice and you try it, and like it may work, it may not. It may partially work, it may not work at all. And you just got to understand that it's what worked for them, not for you. And so maybe it does work for you. But it's understanding that I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
But it's okay if it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think
it's okay if it doesn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of the advice we see and we receive from people around us, I think that maybe it points to a broader concept that could apply itself better. So instead of listening to specifically what someone says, and they're saying it because it applies to them, that maybe they found something that more broadly could improve your life if you, I guess, like you said, kind of made it your own.
Just tweak it a bit, because we hear conflicting advice so much that
that's good that you said that, because there's, especially as young men, there's so much like everywhere, there's so much advice about stuff everywhere, and it's easy to get like overwhelmed with because we're like in the information age, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed with what everyone is saying that we can't take out what's useful for us. And I think it can get overwhelming, I think.
Oh yeah, I think for men it's probably specifically worse, because there's so much advice for guys out there, and guys don't even know because there's like never stop grinding, never rest, always push forward no matter what, and then there's people saying, oh, you need to take a break every now and then for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's like people saying, oh, breaks are for wimps, or oh, this and that, and there's like, oh, there's so much conflicting evidence so much conflicting stuff that like some people do things this way, like maybe there's this one guy who runs 100 miles every day and does a 6-hour gym session after it, but like, is that sustainable for you? Probably not.
And then I feel like for someone like me, like I will internalize that to be like, okay, there's something wrong with me, I need to work my way up to that standard. but that's someone else's standard, and I feel like I am not I'm having like this, I guess, insecurity about myself because I can't reach someone else's goals.
Mm-hmm.
And this, of course, this relates to leadership as well, is that I'm not reaching someone else, and I feel that there's something wrong with who I am and how I've been made. And I feel like that's also part of leadership, is accepting who you are in your personality, and who you are, and just accept also your limitations. There's like stuff that people can do that it just doesn't work for you. Like, I'm not posting daily quotes. That's Lucas's thing, and you have many gifts that I will probably get to know, but I don't have those. Doesn't mean there's like something wrong with me.
Yeah. And it skews our view of ourselves because we're exposed to people who are better than us, but or like, even the term better, like there is no, you can't really be better than someone else because it's just too complicated. Everyone has different strengths, and you just can't. There's always man. I used too much of my brain power in the first half. I was going somewhere, but I wasn't.
I think it's great that you talk about this, because I've actually been under the impression that standard is what's true, and that it exists and we should be striving for it, despite my limitations, like you spoke of, and I just wonder what you guys think.
I feel like it can create like a lot of anxiety, unnecessary anxiety and stress on yourself, or pressure, because trying to run towards the standard that isn't really you. Like, you may think it's you because that's what you're seeing all the time. Like, you see this standard of whatever it is, like it could be anything. Like you said, there, like, run 100 miles a day. It could be that. Like, you see this standard all the time, and if you keep saying that, you think, oh, well, this. I need to do this. I have to do this because this person said so. And I to be a valid, qualified leader or human, I have to do this. But I think before we open ourselves up to that, we need to question, like, is this like for me? Like, does this work for me? And if you try it and 100 miles don't work for you, it doesn't mean like you're a bad person. It just means that it just doesn't work for you. You have like other things that work for you that don't work for other people.
Yeah, and I think that like Ben was talking about, how like you think these, that's something you should strive for, these seemingly crazy goals, these really impressive feats, and like for some people striving to that will just sort of destroy them. It'll make them question their self-worth. But for other people, maybe that motivates you. Maybe you think, maybe you can look at these goals and maybe you'll never achieve them, but it inspires you to work harder because you know that it's possible. Like, if you dream big, if you shoot for, what's the saying? If you
I have no idea.
If you shoot for the
moon, you may land among the stars.
Yeah, that one. So if you shoot for this, if you work as hard as you can to achieve this crazy goal, then you will still accomplish great things. Just, Yeah,
I think it's very important that we have direction as men, right? In our lives, at least, so that we have something to strive for. And that's, I think, with the high goals is what we get, even if we can't achieve them.
Yeah, having direction in a sense of being aligned with your purpose.
Yeah.
Not that you have to like know your full purpose, but you have like some idea of who you like to be. And I think having that like kind of foundational sense of identity can help you overcome the pressure to achieve something that you can't, like, or just with comparison. Because I think as men we compare ourselves to other men. I know I do. For me, like, I compare myself so like to a lot of my friends go to the gym. I don't go to the gym. I like to hike and I like to go outside. So, but that's what works for me. Being outside probably doesn't work for them. A lot of them like to stay inside, and I like to like hike in nature and stuff. So it doesn't like mean two people are like not not good enough in their own way. It's just what works for them are the activities that they have that work for them. And I think tying this into leadership, there's a lot of things that you have to accept about yourself. Like for me, one is that I'm like, when I saw that quote, like being a leader is being sensitive. I didn't think of it like that before until I saw that quote. And now that like I changed my mindset on what being like an actual leader is just sharing your ideas and actually being yourself and not having to chase the standard, because what works for you doesn't work for me, and what works for you doesn't work for me. It might in some cases, but like not all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe back to what we started with about being sensitive as a leader.
Yeah.
I think that is important, but it's not really spoken about.
Yeah.
Because we do have that kind of ideal leader idea that's pushed on us.
Yeah.
But I think being a leader is, it's important to definitely know the full range of your ability as a person.
Yeah.
And how to best apply yourself in situations and being sensitive.
What does the word sensitive mean to you, Ben?
I think sensitive is just being vulnerable.
Okay. That was another quote about leadership. I saw it. It's another quote.
Having the intelligence to understand someone's situation, even if you in your journey are perhaps
like you never experienced it.
What?
Like even if you haven't experienced it, having the ability to understand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Or even if you have experienced it and you've come through it, and someone is really struggling with it, knowing that that there's all sorts of things that could be in the way of that, their life experience, or maybe their mental health, anything. So I think it is in itself just being very open and vulnerable to the way that people, the things people are going through.
Are you sensitive?
Oh, I'm an extremely sensitive person. But sensitivity, the way I interpreted that quote that you said was that for a leader to be sensitive, you need to be receptive to what people think, and you need to be empathetic to people's problems in order to solve them, or at least in order to help people and resolve things within the organization or structure, or whatever it is that you're a leader within. But the sensitivity is kind of an odd thing for me, because since I was a kid, I've always struggled with being sensitive. People tell me, "Oh, you're so sensitive," because I am affected a lot by what people say, and affected a lot by very small things in everyday life.
Yeah.
And to me, that could never be a good quality of a leader, or at least if you asked me that, when I was younger, because that was the number one thing I was made fun of in like middle school and high school.
Yeah.
But like,
it's so much.
It's a matter of, I don't know, I guess moderating that, because I think sensitive doesn't have as much stigma behind it now. But like, as a man, the word sensitive can have a lot of stigma behind it. Because you're not supposed to be sensitive. You're supposed to be strong and stoic and face things head on and not flinch at it,
Yeah. Micah, the book you caught me reading the other day actually made a great point about this. It's about living life as a warrior. And it says that there are ups and downs in life, and maybe that's the small things that we're sensitive to. And it's, I think, about recognizing them, but knowing how to go with the flow of life and kind of balance your internal self.
Okay.
And I think that ties in very closely to this.
Interesting.
So being sensitive is important, but I also think that, it's how you deal with it.
Would you describe yourself as a sensitive person?
I would, but I wouldn't say that people know that immediately.
I feel like when I first met you in the lounge, I was like, okay, this guy is like a deep thinker, like sensitive, because I was like, he's you read books like I do, and not that I'm like trying to like guess about your personality, but it's like that's interesting, because like when we picture men, we don't picture men as like like a deep thinker wanting to know themselves. Maybe like in the ancient world, but like more so now, it's not. We don't see men as like that internal sensitivity or that internal that internal self of wanting to know yourself. And I feel like I think it's a gift. I think well, now I see it as a gift. Now I see being sensitive or a deep thinker as being a gift, because there's a lot of things that go there's a lot of things that are missed in everyday society that people that are deep thinkers or are sensitive, they catch on to, and they bring it to the surface. For me, I'm super sensitive, and I'm more recently I'm trying to own that, instead of, especially after seeing that quote, I'm just like, I have to accept that this is a gift, and I can still be a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think sensitivity on the good end is you're more perceptive, you're more intuitive. There was a quote about this, it's somewhere I saw, but people who are sensitive, who feel emotions more intensely, are able to express feelings more intensely too, and express love and gratitude, and I think express and motivate other people better, like in terms of being a leader. I think if you're able to express your feelings in a way that inspires other people and uplifts them and points them in the right direction, that can be a plus side of a sensitive leader.
Yeah, when I was kind of similar to your journey, when I was like in middle and high school, it wasn't really valued. So it's kind of like more so recently, I'm more valuing my ability to think deeply and be sensitive, and meeting like other people that are like similar, like helps kind of validate that, to help me understand like this is like normal. So
yeah, I think it's a lost art, and I think it's very essential to like being a human being, is being a deep thinker. Questioning everything. And I think around us we see people that are very surface level. They don't ever break into those questions or dive into themselves. They're outwardly focused. And I think you learn a lot when you go inside of yourself, and you just kind of assess who you are and get to know yourself and your capabilities in the, I guess, spectrum of thought, and how you can observe the world around you. And I can say that in my own life, I've grown a lot from being a
introspective,
deep thinker. Even in strength, it hasn't been a burden, I guess, in who I become in life. Maybe emotionally, at times, it's a little burdensome.
I think you mentioned that it was burdensome. I think people are afraid to do that, though.
Afraid
to be like introspective, to like look within.
Definitely, I think that
it's scary.
What are some internal barriers? Ben the philosopher. I'm just kidding.
I think that a lot of people have a hard time breaking their ego. Because they're not maybe even aware that it's there. Or maybe they're aware of some parts of it, and others are very deep rooted. And I think going in knowing yourself is breaking that completely. Because then you can fully see who you are. Without those illusions of the ego. And so, but doing so, I know that when I have been very deep in thought, that it's brought out a lot of like my flaws and places I've gone wrong in my life. Came back and thought about things from years before that I hadn't thought about until then. And I think for a lot of people it can be a cathartic experience where they kind of overcome a lot of things, maybe their past traumas, or just things that weigh on them. But it's also, I think, I think it's a very hard battle that people don't want to fight. They don't want to take that step into.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. It's like an abyss,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, what's scarier than coming face to face with all of your deepest flaws and insecurities?
Exactly.
Because I think, like, attached to that, people feel a sense of shame over their internal self because it's not, my internal self isn't perfect. It has, like you said, flaws and stuff. So people feel a sense of shame, or they, like, kind of grew up with that sense of shame. Like, okay, I'm not supposed to look within because I've been told, like, my real self is kind of, like, very, like, shameful.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not directly, but indirectly, you've been, like, told, okay, my internal self is shameful. So therefore that leads me to, like, seek, like, the external stuff, and it doesn't help me to be a leader because I'm so focused on that, where I need to overcome the shame within myself.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Your eye did a weird thing.
Hmm? What happened?
Your eye did a weird thing. It's okay. Yeah.
I don't know what my eye did. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely get that. I think there's entire generations of guys who were just taught not to look at inside and just like you have things to do. You need to do them. You need to not let what's inside of you stop you from doing those things.
Oh, okay. Maybe we're so focused on doing.
Yeah.
Maybe
I've
that's.
thought about this before.
You thought about this? Okay, maybe we're so focused on doing that we kind of not like forget. Well, I guess forget our and quote unquote forget
You try to
ourselves.
forget.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, but you're still so worked up and like you can't ignore what's happening inside you, but you
Yeah.
try to really hard to the point where you're used to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've struggled to find that balance, I think.
Okay.
So I've been like very deep in thought for weeks.
Yeah.
I guess I should put this out there. About 2 years ago, I think that I had a pretty intense spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've been very deep in thought, very deep in like life philosophy, growth,
Mhm.
purpose, those sorts of things. But when I was there thinking, it was very hard to focus on the actionable steps that I needed to get to my goals, and
Yeah.
the things I received from those deep thoughts, I couldn't really use them to my advantage until I shifted my focus into the action. But then in the action, again, it was hard to kind of, I'd say I lost some sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I, in that state, wasn't grounded enough. I got distracted.
Yeah. Or you didn't want to like, or you felt uncomfortable.
Perhaps.
Like looking. Yeah. I think I like that you mentioned balance, because I think for me as a deep thinker, I can be so lost in thinking about something that I don't actually do it, and I just think about doing it, but like I'll like overthink doing it, and I think
You're thinking.
I think it's important to, like you said, have that balance of where you're reflecting, you're having like mindful reflection and solitude, and you're in that state, but also you're allowing that to motivate yourself to do something productive. And I think that's important to have that balance. I like that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Indubitably.
Indubitably?
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
One of my favorite words.
Yeah. That's a word?
It's a real word.
What does it mean?
Indubitably. You never heard a
No.
pompous British person go indubitably. It's just an affirmation, like yes.
Oh, okay. Indeed. But yeah, I think like the message for that I want to put out is, because I'm a deep thinker, and because of that. Well, number one, I write a lot. I don't know if you do.
I read often. Yeah.
Yeah, I write a lot, and it's a way for me to express that. And when I was growing up, it was kind of I don't know if I would say shamed, because like my dad would say, like, why do you have a journal? It's just like it's how I express myself. And I think we need to approach leadership with a more open mindset, with not that leaders come in all shapes and sizes, and just because what I'm wanting to produce or what I want to give to the world is seen as different, doesn't make me a lesser than leader, if that makes sense. Like just because I want to post daily quotes, it doesn't. I'm not like the president of the United States, but I'm still a leader in a sense because I'm impacting someone, I'm influencing someone, I'm inspiring someone. So I feel like that makes you an effective leader. And
okay. No, I'm just interested by what you said.
I think there's a lot of maybe I feel like there's a lot of myths about what being a leader is, and for me, I'm still dealing with that because as I take more leadership positions in college, like as class president, I have this idea of what being class president was, but that like wasn't me, because like I'm more like the introverted personality. I'm more like I'm introverted. Like I describe myself as an INFJ. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just a part of the personality. I feel like you would get really into the personality types.
Okay, I think I've taken a test before.
Yeah.
I think you.
And I got an answer, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm, not like the extroverted person. So I feel kind of less than because I'm not the extroverted leader in a sense, but who says that a leader has to be extroverted? Who says that a leader has to be those things? Is it actually true, or was that like, did society put that out there? Like, where did that come from? It's like good to like question.
Yeah.
Question good.
I think that when you have the self-trust that is required of you to be a leader, that you're not afraid to share your ideas, like with your daily quotes.
Yeah.
You trust what you're saying. You believe it to be true, at least for yourself, so you're fine sharing it. And I think if you do that, I don't know if I would define it as introverted or extroverted, but I think that you're somewhere in the middle at least, where you're not afraid to speak your mind and to be yourself truly, but perhaps you still fit into an introvert personality. But there's that other part that I think being a leader gives you, that maybe is in a gray area.
Do you think as like assuming that we're all kind of in the room, we're kind of like deep thinkers or we're kind of like that, do you think it's a little bit like, for me, okay, I'm just going to start right here. I want to answer the question. So my question is like, was there a time where you were more like hesitant to express yourself or hesitant to kind of like be yourself? And for me, yes, because I felt that, like we said before, that being a guy is like always doing and always kind of like in. So for me mostly, because I'm not into sports. You can talk to me about sports, I would like not know what you're talking about at all. And it's there was like a point where I was just like, well, if I'm not those things, is there something wrong with me? And that made me more afraid to kind of express myself more fully because I thought that there was something wrong with me. And I feel like when you have that like shame-based idea or the shame-based narrative, then you're kind of hesitant to either be yourself or express yourself.
Oh, 100%. Because I think one of the reasons that I had trouble expressing myself in the past was because what I said and what I wanted to say just didn't resonate with people and they didn't understand me. And when you'll be around people like that in your lives who like you'll say something, you'll express yourself, you'll be really passionate about something, but it doesn't resonate with them. They don't understand it, and so they
what are you talking about?
And so they just move on, like they ignore you, like that kind of thing. Like something that really messed with me as a kid is I'd be in friend groups and I'd try and contribute to a conversation, and I would just be completely ignored, overlooked because what I said.
I relate to that so much.
Oh my god, yeah, that just messed me up. My whole life, like my parents, my family would do that. Like just made me think that what I had to say had absolutely no meaning. Absolutely, like with what I said didn't mean anything to anyone else, just me. Like I thought that the merit.
Yeah, it's kind of like they would
yeah.
brush over it, like, it's kind of just like, okay. You're just doing just your little thing.
And what I realized is I was just around the wrong people.
Yeah,
and
I think
like,
that's what.
It's just a matter of finding the people that you want, and the reason and the way I've gotten over that is like I have people here who appreciate what I have to say, and just we all appreciate what each other has to say because we're like-minded.
Yeah.
And we all found each other in different ways. Like I found you guys by putting out my quotes, and people who resonate with my quotes reach out to me, and then I gain new people who understand what I have to say, and we value what each other has to say. And so it's a matter of finding your people.
Yeah, I relate to that so much. Since elementary school, I've always been overlooked, even by my closest friends. We had similar interests, which kept us close, but there was always like this sense of isolation from, I would say, everyone.
Like even like around, even around like them.
More recently, yeah, even around my close friends. More recently, I've started to find some people, especially like a community of like content creators that are pretty small, but people that I really relate to. Like that has been great, but I think that I've come to understand that it's because I think people like us take on life with a seriousness that other people just don't.
I think that I think the thing about it is also like having that sense of death, and for me, I've always felt like insecure about it. Like I always felt like I was too serious about things, but really I wasn't like having people mirror my my ideas or what I believe in. Like I didn't have that so I didn't have anyone to like kind of bounce that back off of, and I felt, well, okay, maybe I should just not be like you kind of go through that. Maybe I shouldn't be this deep. Maybe I need to like be like that person so I can be accepted. But it's really no. You have to like find your people and find like a mirror to you, so you're not so you can see yourself more fully. So I don't like I kind of
no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I resonate with that a lot. I think we should live life like as passionately as we can.
Yeah.
In every moment.
Yeah.
Time has a piece of us already, and so why waste any of it? That's kind of my philosophy. That's one that hits home for me at least. And I feel like people are distracted.
I think also too, you said live as passionately as you can. I think for me, I've always been afraid because I have such because I care a lot about stuff. So I always been afraid to like care deeply about things. So I felt like I needed to kind of be like that stoic, like, this doesn't bother me, like it's a whatever. And I feel like that, like I need to, like I felt like I needed to do that, but now it's just like I embracing that this aspect of myself that I care deeply, and there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, just like anything, like of course you don't want to be like obsessed about something, but it's okay to like experience the depth of being passionate about something, and that's what eventually makes you like a leader, is like embracing that passion.
Yeah, and you find the people that resonate with you, and those are the kind of people that you can lead, and they're the kind of people that can lead you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh. Yeah, I think I think to say to my I guess the thing to say to my past self is to not like suppress your passion for death or for meaning and for purpose, to not suppress that, because I think maybe I didn't realize that, but maybe like just the culture like maybe embrace more of like a superficial kind of thing, but I've always felt weird that I just didn't like didn't gravitate towards that, the superficial, whatever it might be. I just didn't gravitate toward that, and I gravitate more towards like I feel like a sense of deep meaning and purpose. But and then another thing that helped me is reading a lot of from authors that that I felt really resonate with me and their own personality.
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that we see things is a testament to sort of our education and the way we were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really can't get that appreciation of life unless you begin to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from, I feel like, it comes a lot from our reading and education, but it comes also a lot from just the way our brains are built and who we are as people.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's a lost art. People used to live, for passion. I think that they were very much so involved in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, I'm sure you are familiar with like the dopamine crisis.
I've heard of it.
People, scrolling mindlessly, their attention spans controlled. I think that we're very pacified. And I think on the other end of that is when you come into your essence as a human. Yeah. And you can really appreciate life.
Be more mindful of life.
Yes. But it's everywhere,
Yeah,
man.
Maybe this needs to be like a part 2. It needs to be a part 2 of go into like mindful living and like living off autopilot. But do you have anything any last things you want to say? Are you gonna cook something?
How can we sum up all this? Time certainly flew. Yeah, but I mean, I think we learned that leadership is a very broad term.
Yeah. And
it depends, leadership isn't just people we look up to and people who tell us what to do. It's it's learning to lead ourselves in the right direction, and once we learn to lead ourselves, we could learn to be role models for other people. But, to lead other people and have other people lead you in a way that resonates with everyone involved, you have to understand yourself, and you have to use that understanding of yourself to find the people who are similar to you. And the people who recognize your value and who you recognize their value, because like we talked about, not everyone's going to understand. Not everyone's going to pay attention to what you have to say, even if it has a lot of value to it. Yeah. And so, can't lead, I don't know, someone riff off me here. I was getting somewhere.
No, it's kind of I like how you said you have to find your people, because it's funny, because I forgot when I met you in the lounge.
In the lounge, yeah.
It was just I think it was a couple weeks ago or something. You were just reading in the background while me and my friends were just acting weird. So I was like, this is I just kept saying hi to you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how I met you. And I feel I feel like when you it's important that you do meet someone like you, and this was not intentional, you just happened to show up. I didn't know who you were before this, but I think it's important that you do cross paths with people that are more like you, so you feel so it helps you build that confidence that you need in your own personality, that it's okay to be yourself. Yeah, that's kind of my, I guess, to tag along to what you said, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think surrounded by so many people that don't understand you, it's great to find people that finally do.
Yeah.
Especially when you kind of, have been yourself your whole life, right? And like you guys said, you struggled to find people that really understood you. And then when you do, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's gold.
Yep.
All right, so that's kind of all. That's kind of all we have for today. Again, today,
Lucas,
Ben,
and Micah. So I think the takeaway from this, my message is, to be a leader is to be attuned to who you are, and I feel like that's kind of what we all kind of got from the episode is to really kind of really get to know yourself, because I feel like if you're trying to be someone else as a leader, then you won't be effective.
And
Sound
remember,
good?
you can be a leader too.
You can be a leader too. All right, bye.
Bye. See you guys.